for getting me this opportunity to share my passions. My life is full of passions, and veganism is one of them. Spirituality and fitness and all those things, and more than anything, my patients are my passion. It's really beautiful to live a passionate life because without passion, there is really nothing. Then it's just dragging yourself. But luckily, I've been coming in contact with the proper channels or whatever may be the case. So I got into spirituality and veganism more or less at the same time. And I really don't see much of a difference between the two because ultimately it's one dictates the other. And my spiritual upliftment also came significantly from whole food plant-based diet. So it's a joy for me to share all these things, and hopefully it will also inspire you too. Thank you. So I have been retired after 37 years. I practiced in internal medicine, and I am a self-evolved whole food plant-based diet, and I'll tell you the story, then you will realize nobody had told me to go vegan. Nobody said that these are the benefits, these are not the benefits, these are the wrong things, right thing. I just evolved, and I'll tell you the story, how it goes. So first of all, for the housekeeping, let's try to make a difference between vegetarian diet and a vegan diet. There is a big difference. Vegetarians don't eat meat, but they do consume animal products like milk, cheese, eggs, honey, all those things, which vegans don't. So the vegans, that's why the vegetarian diet is really different than a vegan diet. So animal foods have been linked with many diseases, which I have realized because I myself was not vegan at one point, and then I realized how the disease atmosphere can change in your life and everybody's life, by going vegan. So vegan also is understandable that there are no animal products consumed, but then there is a whole food plant-based diet, which is a step above. The vegan can be a healthy vegan, and it can be unhealthy vegan also. So bread and soda and all sugary drinks and all those things can be vegan, but it's not necessarily healthy. So one step above than veganism is the whole food plant-based diet, and that's what I have seen the most benefits with. So let's go into that. So the whole food plants is mainly whole grains, leafy vegetables, fruits, nuts, legumes, seeds, and no processed foods like oils, very limited salt and sugar, things like that. So that makes is one step above the veganism. So questions, my life's story really revolves around questions. I'm gonna present 6 questions in front of you. Some of these questions came in my life and then made me think. And then some of the questions arose within me, and then finally I'm gonna leave you with one question for all of you. So let's see how it goes. So the way I dealt with the question was I would try to get an answer with passion. Whatever it takes, I need to get down to the bottom. So that's how always been my approach to the life. That any question comes in, I would go into the detail. So a lot of times you have to do a lot of introspections to understand what are the right things, what are the wrong things, and finally, with really enough research, you reach to a truth. And because until you reach to the truth, it always made me restless, that why don't I have any answer for this? But you think that once you find the truth, you will become less restless? Wrong. Because once you know the truth, it makes you more inconvenient until you put it in your daily life. So it's a straightforward thing, but very difficult to do, because ultimately the truth, if you practice in life, truth leads to freedom. And that's the whole approach I have been with all along. So first question came from my son. He must be about 8-9 years old. I was not vegan, and he wasn't either. But he asked me, he says, "Daddy, why should we eat only plants and not animals?" Because I was Jain to bond with, and I always told him that it's non-violent to avoid the animal products like meat and things like that. But he said that both are alive. Why select one over the other? I had no answer at that time. So I did a lot of research. I happened to bump into a beautiful book by Michael Tobias, Life Force, at Siddhachalam. And it gave me a lot of answers, and it made me realize that the animals are fully developed in all the five senses, versus plants have only a single sense of reproduction. There is not much developed five senses. So that's why Mahavir Swami said that when you are born in this earth, then you have to eat what causes the least amount of damage to the world and the animals. So that gave me the answer. Michael Tobias has a fascinating story. He was an Irish guy. He was a PhD in religions. He traveled all over the world to actually experience the religions in first hand. He went to Israel. He studied Judaism. He came to Banaras, studied Hinduism. He came to Kutch, and finally he wasn't really impressed with Jainism. He became a monk. Now he's heavily into making the documentaries and films on Ahimsa and all that. Very inspirational life that he was living. And his book, again, I have met him personally also once I gave a talk at Siddhachalam. So it was beautiful to meet him, a very, very beautiful gentleman. So next question came when I saw this lion. This was about 2001, and we were doing a safari in Kruger National Park. So me and my son and my parents, and we all in this, and suddenly we saw this lion. And there was a group of 10, 12 lions, and suddenly one lion started running. And we were watching it, and so we realized that it was running after a piglet-like animal, warthog. So warthog kept running, it was running away for his life, but the lion was running for his stomach. But the warthog ran away, could not catch him. So the lion was coming back. It was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun was shining at an angle. And I tell you, the body of the lion was glowing like gold. And the way it was walking is every single muscle was flickering. And I was looking at myself. I said, look at these lions. They're so handsome. You see, all the lions in the wild will be handsome. They will be fit. They don't have to. What is the difference? And look at us. We always have to struggle to lose weight and do eat this and don't eat this, and we make a big science out of it. They are not doing anything. So that question came in my mind. So this was another second. This was one of the most revolutionary question came. Why lions are so physically fit and we are not? So it made me realize, and I went into a lot of introspection and realized that the jungle life is a choiceless life. The lion has no choice. Whatever he wants to eat, he has to earn it. He has to stay fit. He cannot just like, okay, I'm going to stop by at ShopRite, pick up a piece of meat. It doesn't work that way. So whatever you do, you have to earn it. So exercise, remaining fit is automatically included as a part of life. And I realized that if I lived in a jungle, what would I eat? First, I would have to exercise. If I come out of my cave, and then I want to eat, I'm hungry, there is no refrigerators or there is no pantry full of food. What I'm going to do, I'm going to walk 4 miles, 5 miles, 6 miles, and then finally I find a fruit tree. What I'm going to do, I'm going to throw the stones, climb on the tree, and finally I'll have a raw apple. Would I complain about it? No, I'll just eat. So these are the rules of jungle, but the way we have created society, oh, you want to exercise or don't want to exercise? It's optional. You have a choice. Choices make us confused. When you have two choices, okay, well, I'll go tomorrow. I won't go tomorrow. You fill up the subscription and then you never go. So exercise is a choice in our country. Of course, and the foods, so many millions of choices have been created. When the choices are created, it confuses your mind. But lion has no choice. If I lived in a jungle, fruits, leaves, nuts, seeds, roots, that would be my choice. So yes, granted, we cannot go and live in a jungle, but we can live a life like a jungle, a choiceless life, where you just decide that these are the good thing for me and I'll stick to it. So the lesson I learned from lion was to remove the man-created choices as much as possible and stay physically fit. And that also I took literally. Then came a question we saw, because I was not vegan, I asked myself, what about milk? How do I get milk in a jungle? There is no way. And as we were talking, suddenly we saw a herd of wild cow There is no way I'm gonna milk this cow. This cow is, I will be a history. That will be my last day of my life. So I learned from jungle that the cows are not to be milked for our consumption. We have created that in the society. Society has twisted the facts. We are doing what we are doing is totally unphysiological. Because in jungle, human milk is for humans. Rhino's milk is for rhinos, and cow's milk is for the cow's babies. Where is the problem? Nature, every mother creates the milk for her own child. And nobody creates for anybody else. And we are exception and suffering. So that question was, so the lesson I learned from the wild cow was stop the dairy. So finally I came down to whole food plant-based diet. So this was my involvement, and then of course I kept the word to the lion that I'm gonna start running, and I started running and running and running. I never stopped. I ran 6 marathons and 1/2 with my son. I climbed Kilimanjaro, all on a whole food plant-based diet. And then as recently last year in April, I went to Everest Base Camp, 17,600 feet. Oh, and they were in puzzle when I was one of their guests there. I was one of the few vegans, but they managed it. They managed it for me, so it was fun. So all these things are possible, even on a whole food plant diet. A lot of people have complaints that maybe I'm not eating the right food, not getting enough nourishment, this and that. It's not true. I am the living proof, 23 years. So even in Krishna, as I said, I got into spirituality, and I was reading, and there is a clear-cut message from Gita also. Diet for Krishna, he says, do sattvic ahar, sattvic vichar, and sattvic acharan, just like Mahavir said, samyak drashti, samyak vichar, samyak acharan. So I give you the guarantee of 100 years of life. But who understands what is sattvic? Sattva, what is sattva? Purity. A kid growing up in a jungle, in a village would be innocent. But as soon as he moves to the city, people get corrupted. Small child will be innocent, but as he grows up, he picks up all these unnecessary habits. So sattva is purity. So what does that mean? How does it apply to me? An apple growing on an apple tree is sattvic. It doesn't grow in a factory. It's made by nature, made by God, whatever you call that. That is pure, full of purity, sattva. As soon as you bring it home, put a lot of sugar and you know what, everything, you make an apple pie, sattva is gone. So Krishna said, eat what I tell you to eat. And there's another slok that will come later, which I will tell you. So sattvic ahar, sattvic vichar, and sattvic acharan. So what are we doing? This is our diet. Cookies, candies. So this is the downfall because our society is full of choices. So whether we want to suffer or not suffer is also our choice. So Jiddu Krishnamurti had a beautiful saying, freedom to choose is great, but freedom from your choices is the ultimate freedom. Because where do the choices reside? At your mind level. Transcend the mind. Then you will make the right decision in the environment of the soul. The soul is a lot higher than the mind. Mind is blind. It's going to make wrong choices. A lot of times I used to explain to my patients this scenario. I said, okay, you come to me and I'm hungry, you are hungry. We have 2 choices, carrots and carrot cake. What would you have? Dal, come on. Carrot cake, of course. I said, okay, you leave the room and then what is the difference? Now after 3 days, you're going to remember the carrot cake that you ate at my office. So what are you going to do? You're going to call me. Say, Doc, where did you get that from? So I'll give you the bakery's direction or whatever. So, and then you bring it home. Then your wife will eat. Then your children will eat. And then before you know, after 3 months or 6 months, you'll come with so much weight gain, cholesterol high, and diabetes. All hinged on one choice. What happened to me? My mind is quiet, is peaceful. Why? Because I selected carrots. So tomorrow, if I'm hungry, the carrots are not addictive. The addictive phenomenon exists only in the human society. Nature has never created anything that is addictive. There is need for you, hunger, and you satisfy with the food, no problem. But it's not addictive. You have never seen a carrot addict, right? So the next day, if I'm hungry, I'll have an apple or a cucumber or whatever. My life will be simple. My mind will be simple. Yours will not. And then I'll be seeing you forever. So sattvic food, in other words, sattvic food of Krishna is whole food, plant-based diet. So even Benjamin Franklin said that ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So Ayurveda, I'm not an expert in Ayurveda, neither I practice or anything like that, but the meaning of Ayurveda really caught me well. Does anybody know the meaning of Ayurveda? Yes? Ayu means life, Veda means science. It's a science of life. So Ayurveda cared for your whole life. Not just say, okay, get sick, come here. Western medicine is what? It by define, you have to be sick to go see a doctor. Bring your disease and we'll give you medicine. Simple. But Ayurveda say no. We'll give you meditations, yoga, asanas, pranayama, everything. And if after that you see, we still have medicine. But Ayurveda meaning the science of life. So that outlook that is provided by Ayurveda started sinking in my mind. Not that I started prescribing anything, but the approach itself was to think about the preventing the diseases is so much more important. So the total disease burden from the animal foods, whether you meat of course is not good, but even the dairy and the milk and cheese and butter, all those things have been connected with so many diseases which are not necessary at all. Metabolic syndrome, high cholesterol, diabetes, heart disease, obesity, many cancers, high blood pressure, even some of the neurological diseases like Parkinson's have been linked with the animal foods. Anxiety, ADHD, all these things can have an extensive explanation. I can, but it's just short of time, so I'm not gonna go. But these are the problems because of the animal foods. So all this can be prevented with a whole food plant-based diet. There are no need for these diseases at all. So as I was doing it and I was telling my patients to go vegan, one of my patients, actually American patient, came and gave me this book, Diet for New America. He says, Doc, here, you've been telling me all these things, now it's in a book form. So it was an interesting read. I read John Robbins, written by John Robbins, son of Baskin Robbins. He was vegan. And not only just, it basically told me everything that I was telling my patients, but more than that, he had access to all the factories, animal farms, animal factories, because of his father's, and he walked away from his father's multi-million-dollar empire. He says, I don't want any of it because we should be going vegan, just for his ethics. Look at the passion this guy had. So he walked away from his father's money, and he had access to all the animal farms and animal factories. And the what he has written in the book, it was just so appalling. If you read the book and don't cry, you're not a human being. The condition these animals have been kept in, it was just so pathetic. But more than also, it came in handy to him because he also quoted a lot of studies, the link between animal foods and diseases. So, and the diseases that I mentioned, so all of those, he had scientific data and the studies have been posted. And so that really helped me and gave me more comfort in going further with the whole food plant-based diet. But I still had one question that was bothering me, and then again I was thinking, what is the real problem with animal foods? Why is it so bad? So as I was going through deeper thinking, suddenly a question arose in my mind, what is cholesterol? It really was like a time bomb sitting in my mind. I never knew, because in medical school, nutrition education is never there. So we think that doctors should be knowing all these things, they don't. If I had asked this question to 100 people, only 2 kids gave me the right answer. Does anybody know what is cholesterol? We know the complications of it, what it causes, heart disease, all these things, we know that. What is cholesterol? Why do we have cholesterol in our body? Anybody? I didn't, including doctors. I had asked my doctor friend, oh, I don't know, son, I don't know. We just treat. You have cholesterol, we'll give you statin. Simple as that. But no, I wanted to know what is cholesterol. So 2 biochemistry students gave me the right answer. And the answer was, also I got it from Dr. Google. Cholesterol is an organic molecule. It's a sterol. It's a fatty molecule. What it does, it makes the cell wall of every single cells in the animal's body. So if we are animals, we draw our blood, we have cholesterol. You draw the blood of a snake or a frog or a sheep or a goat, doesn't matter. All animals are made out of cholesterol. So you cannot avoid cholesterol whether you eat a chicken breast or chicken thigh or chicken this, chicken that, doesn't matter. You can say this is lean meat, this is regular meat, no, doesn't matter. Every single thing will have cholesterol. So then again, to prove that, I went back to Google. So what does it mean? Every time you eat meat, red meat, chicken, fish, lamb, goat, you are eating cholesterol. Every time you drink milk or eat cheese, butter, yogurt, ghee, you are consuming cholesterol. Now this is on top of the cholesterol that our body is making it already. In fact, if I want to murder someone, for example, I can give them a pill that will bring their cholesterol down to 0, that guy will die right away. Why? Because this is our life. We continuously keep making new cells, and the new cells, for that, we need cholesterol. So our body makes the cholesterol in the liver. We are totally self-sufficient in making the cholesterol because in such an important thing, there is no requirement to get it from outside. We manufacture our own cholesterol. So if you cannot manufacture new cells, you die. So as we keep on getting older and older, we keep on creating new cells, we keep shedding old cells. That's how we get old, and at some point, when we cannot make new cells, we die. So our whole life cycle revolves around the cholesterol. So how to put it in a practical way? Steak, of course, high cholesterol. Fish, even a half a fillet of salmon has 112 milligrams of cholesterol. And the doctors say, oh no, eat fish, it's healthy for you. Not true. Cholesterol, milk, of course, 1 cup has 24 milligrams of cholesterol. 1 cup of cheese, 256 milligrams of cholesterol. 10 cups of milk equals to 1 cup of cheese. Horrible. Yogurt, same thing. 1 egg, 187 milligrams of cholesterol. Fish oil. Recently, thank God, the study came out just about 6 months ago that fish oil does not prevent the heart disease. But under the prevalent myth, the doctors also keep on prescribing, oh, take fish oil capsule, it will help you with this and that. It's not true. 1 teaspoonful of fish oil, 104 milligrams of cholesterol. But plants have 0 cholesterol. Why? It's like a watertight compartment. All the plant cells have also cell walls which are made up of cellulose. Cellulose is fiber, 0 cholesterol. So if you have a cholesterol and you want to bring it down, all you have to do is switch from animal foods to plant foods, and your intake will go down to 0. So this I started realizing that I was waiting for someone. See, a lot of Indians have cholesterol, but they don't eat meat, most of them, and things like that, so they usually don't have an issue. But I had one girl, she came to see me. She drove 3.5 hours to come see me. She came from upstate New York. I said, wow, that's too long. Why did you come this far? Oh, well, my mother lives in the next town in Montclair, and she says, you're very good, and I came to see you. I have this asthmatic bronchitis, can you take care of it? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So we took care of it and all that. And then they say, by the way, I have a lot of cholesterol problem. And she ate everything. And her ex was Italian, and they had just come back from Italy, eating everything under the sun. I said, okay, how much is your cholesterol? He says, my bad cholesterol, which is LDL, sticky cholesterol, is 173. It should be 99. I said, wow. What did your doctor say? Oh, he said that, Marie, you should take a pill. I said, did you get a second opinion? He says, yeah, I went to endocrinologist. And he said the same thing, take a pill. I'm not going to take a pill. I don't want to take a pill. So what else? I said, well, then what do you recommend? I said, well, you came to a different doctor. I asked her one question. It's another interesting question. I asked her, I said, if you try to catch something, it runs away. What would you do? What would you do? If you try to catch something and runs away, what would you do? Run after, right? 99% of the people say the same. She didn't say that. She was smart. She said, I'll let it go. That is also possible, right? So she said, that night, she became vegan. She gave up everything. She must be a hard-headed girl. Look at her numbers. Her total cholesterol was 274 and bad cholesterol 173. In 6 weeks, she texted me something. And look at the numbers, came down to like 68 LDL from 173 without medication. She sent me, she must know, she was in Italy teaching English to the Italians, so she had a lot of interest in different languages. So she texted me, Dhanyavad, Shukriya, thank you. My cholesterol has reduced by 105 points in 6 weeks, thanks to your wisdom and great advice. So that was a good, so then I became a very heavy proponent of avoid the medications, just go on a whole food plant-based diet. So heart disease, of course, is one of the main diseases that is linked to the animal foods. Heart attacks are very common. It's the leading cause of death for all adults in USA. 1 person dies every 36 seconds from heart disease. And 1 every 4 deaths are from heart disease. We are spending $219 billion in US every year. And South Asians have an especially higher risk, and that makes all of us, not just India, but Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, all those are South Asian countries. In the whole world, 30% of the people die from heart disease. But among those 30%, 60% are us, South Asians. So it makes us definitely a high-risk race to really realize the importance of changing the diet. And a lot of people are dying at the young age. There was a special study came out called Masala study, was by Dr. Kanaya, and it's still going on. It came out about 10, 15 years ago. They found out that these are the statistics they found out. The South Asians have a much more higher risk of getting a heart disease. And that's why a lot of times you hear people die 30s and 40s and 50s, just never make it. So Masala study was a very important study, and now they're doing on a 2nd and a 3rd generation Indians also, South Asians also in this country. So Masala study, I won't go into the much detail, but it showed certain characteristics of Indians and which are very evident. So we have pre-diabetes. A lot of times, a lot of people don't have diabetes, but they have pre-diabetes and high levels of LPA, central obesity. A lot of people would have a central obesity. If we can screen, pretty much will have a high preponderance among the Indian community, high calcium score, all those things. But one thing interesting, they found out that many were vegetarians, but the diet was very high in dairy and very low in fruits and vegetables. So that's another supportive statistical study that has come out that shows our diet habits have to change. So Masala recommendation was to start screening early. They actually reduce your ideal body weight also. We were actually smaller frame people. So they actually created a new category. The ideal body weight was reduced by 2 points. So family history was added as another thing, because up until then, I had noticed in my Indian patients, whenever they had a heart attack, their parents always had a heart attack. So I said, being an Indian itself is a risk factor. So I started this. Now since Masala, they have included the family history. And of course, one of the main recommendations was the whole food plant-based diet and increased physical activity and calcium scoring starting age 40. So there is something called Blue Zones in Netflix. I don't know if you guys have any seen it or not, but there are beautiful, the statistics they had come up with. Like there is Sardinia, Italy, then there is Okinawa, Japan, and even Loma Linda University right here in US. So they had done the study on a whole food plant-based diet. And not only they lived longer, like Okinawa, the average age would be like 100 plus. Everybody lives longer. And not just living longer, but quite physically active and socially active and a really enjoyable life they can all live. And this study has been done, and we think that, okay, people in Japan live longer, but they come to US, they get heart attacks and diabetes and all that, but not in Loma Linda University, where they were made to go on a whole food plant-based diet, and they saw the big statistical difference of reduction in all these diseases and very enjoyable, meaningful life. The reason was whole food plant-based diet. So right now in the cardiovascular field, what we do, we just keep giving the medications. Now medications are not without side effects. You give beta blockers, ACE inhibitors to treat the heart disease, statins, of course, one of the main ones, blood thinners, all these things we have to keep doing it. We do 500,000 bypass surgeries, and the fatality rate is 3% of the people die on the table because of the surgery itself. That's 15,000 deaths per year. And angioplasties, we do 1 million angioplasties a year with fatality rate of 1.2. So 12,000 people die just because of this stent. All these things can be avoided with whole food plant-based diet. This was an interesting anecdote. In 1941, the Norway was occupied by Germans. And this is what the invaders do. They take care of all the animals and they collect it, because in Europe the food is meat, of course, so they always go and collect all the animals. So that left no animals for the Norwegians. But interesting thing happened in 4 years. They did the study. Their heart disease risk went down by 58%. So something to know. So another study to prove that 200,000 people, that healthy vegan diet, meaning the whole food plant-based diet, is much better than the not healthy vegan. Diabetes is another disease on the rise. Again, there's a lot of complications, of course. So there is a link between milk and type 2 diabetes. 40% of the milk's calories comes from lactose. Lactose is sugar. Like goes in your body, splits into glucose and galactose. It's all sugar. So 40% of the milk's calorie raises your blood sugar. And of course, our Indian cuisine is not one of the best. One roti gives you 6.5 teaspoonful of sugar. 1 cup of rice, 18. But fruits and vegetables, they reduce your risk. Sugar in normal, of course, we expect. Cereals are very high in sugar. 1 bagel, 400 calories, 17 teaspoonful of sugar. Pasta, 1 bakri, 13 teaspoonfuls. So all these things need to be converted into little by little into a healthy vegan diet. So because there is the main difference between animal foods and the plant-based food, the fiber. Because the cellulose, the fiber is only in the plant-based diet. Animal foods have zero fiber because they don't grow on the plants. So what they do is the fiber actually rubs against the inner lining of your intestines and scrubs all the cells which are dying. And every cell then works like a sponge and take it out. So this is how they reduce the cholesterol. That's why the oatmeal, Quaker Oats says we reduce the cholesterol by 15%. And also the intake of fiber is recommended 38 grams, but overall average people take only 15.
Dr. Shah,
yes.
Sorry to cut you off, but
yeah.
running on time.
No, I understand that, yeah. So this was my mind and body alignment that I went through, that I realized the side effects on all these things. Animal foods have been linked with cancers also. Breast cancer, prostate cancers are very high risk. I won't get into this, which is very detailed, but one thing you will have to realize that highest milk consumption is in India. And one of the countries which exports the meat is also India. Because India believes in dairy consumption, but not in eating meat. So all the beef has to be exported, so we're one of the highest. Right now, the study says that there are more domesticated animals than human beings on the earth. The wild mammals are only 4% left. We are occupying a lot of land because we have to feed the animals also. So I would pass, a lot of these, they are interesting. So we are heading into mass extinction number 6 because of domestication of the animals, because they have to be fed. So 80% of the farms are only growing the food for animals, not for us. Compassion, of course, this is the story of all the animals, how they are kept. The one that bothered me the most was artificial insemination, which I'll tell you, and then I'll probably close. The artificial insemination is become a routine practice where nobody asks the cows whether they want to get pregnant or not. And it just bothered me. I was meditating one of those days, and then I just went so deep down and I realized that any unwanted pregnancies, so I asked myself, what do you call a pregnancy without consent? If a female has to be subjected to that, perpetrator will be in the jail. So that bothered me, that every single product of milk is a product of rape, because it's never really discussed with them. Or the cows don't have their own urge either. So but we keep on doing it like there is no tomorrow. So the last question I'm going to ask is, which animal in the world drinks another animal's mother's milk for the whole life? answer is there. So I'll pass this. There are documentaries available. Makadud is one of the best documentaries came out of India. And Bhagavad Gita says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. Krishna tells Arjuna, I want only 4 things. Give me leaf, flower, fruit, and toyam is water. Mahavir says the same thing. One should not injure, subjugate, enslave, torture, or kill any living beings. And the last one is if any questions. Sorry about making it faster than. Okay. Thank you.
You could probably share that PDF. We will post it on the group.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are out of
No, I understand. No problem. Sure. No problem.
We would do not have